Do your low-light photos often come out blurry? In this video, I'll give you 6 tips to avoid blur in your low-light photos, even if you don't have a tripod with you. Welcome to our first tip on how to take great photos in low light when you're not using a tripod. Now, the first thing we want to do is sort of have a third point of contact where we can sort of relieve the weight of the camera, which will help us in getting a very sharp photo. Here, what we'll do is we'll put the lens onto the top here, and what we'll find is we get a much sharper picture because there's not as much camera shake. So let's take our first picture. Yes, now that's a good sharp picture. Now let's try another technique where we're going to place the camera on a step. Now, another really great way to stabilize your camera is to use steps. The steps are fairly low to the ground, so you're going to get a very interesting low angle. We're already seeing all of the scene in the street, like the buildings, but we also get to see the street. And in a case like this, in a European setting, we get to see the cobblestones, which are very attractive. So the first thing we want to do is compose the picture relatively low to the ground, like so. Now I like that scene, so I'm going to put my camera down. Now, even though there's a little bit of difference from where I'm looking to my camera, the scene is going to be pretty much the same anyway. So I'm going to take my picture, I'm going to review, and I really like it. Now, of course, there are many other options for doing stabilization techniques like this. You could use a nearby garbage can, anything that allows your camera to have a sort of a third point contact or a place where you can place your camera and let it stay stable. What we're wanting to do is have no shake and perfectly sharp pictures, and techniques like this allow you to do that. Now, if you don't have access to a stable surface such as a garbage can or maybe a curb or something else like that in your environment, that's okay, because in this video we're going to be explaining various handheld techniques that will pretty much guarantee you getting sharp photos. Avoiding the blurry photo is pretty much what we're all about in this video. So let's go through some techniques. Now, with regards to ISO, just a little recap. ISO is sort of like an artificial way that the cameras use to bring in or pull in more light to allow you to take pictures in dark environments such as this alley. With regards to auto ISO, what's happening is the camera is choosing the ISO or the light sensitivity, and you don't have to worry about a thing. It's very easy and very useful when we're in a situation where we don't have time to deal with manually adjusting the ISO or the light sensitivity. Think of ISO as your morning cup of coffee or a very strong espresso. It's an artificial way to get you going in the morning. That's exactly what's happening with the camera. Now, the only problem with increased ISO, and this is going to show up in your auto ISO, is that the higher the ISO number, the grainier your picture will be. Now, we officially call it digital noise, but in the old days, of film days, it was called grain. Now, here's the trade-off. We either have high ISO with some grain or digital noise, or we have a blurry picture. In this instance, we're going to go for a sharp picture and high ISO with a bit of grain. Let's talk about aperture priority. Now, just to recap, aperture priority is us telling the camera what f-stop, or you could say what f-number, we want the camera to use. Now, when we use a low f-number, the camera is going to allow for a faster shutter speed. A faster shutter speed means a sharper picture, especially in low light situations like this. Aperture priority. It's a great way to avoid the blurry picture and to get sharp shots every time. This next technique is very effective, and it's very simple because you don't need to find a flat, stable surface. All you need to do is find a wall, and that's very easy. So what we're going to do is create a triangle with our upper body. We're going to lean against the wall and have our feet out. Now, the reason we do this is that the weight of our body acts as almost a tripod, and it's very effective for allowing us to create very stable photos. Also, don't forget to put your elbows into your rib cage, and that as well will give you a stable shot. So now we're going to compose our picture. We're going to take the shot, review, and we find that we have a very sharp photo. So remember, when you're using a wall, allow your body to create that triangle, and that's going to help you get even sharper photos in low light situations. One of my favorite ways to get good sharp photos is to actually sit on the ground. Right now I'm sitting on a doorstep, but I could equally as well be sitting on the ground or on the street. In this instance, we're going to use our legs and our elbows to get good sharp photos by creating a stable platform. The first thing we want to do is have our elbows on our knees like so. And of course, as always, we have our strap over our head. Now we're going to get ready to compose. We look through the camera and we have almost a tripod situation like so, and the camera is good and stable. I compose the shot, take the picture, review, and I have a good sharp photo. This next technique is really interesting because it uses your strap as a camera stabilizer. So what you're going to do is put your camera over your head as usual, give yourself a good grip, and with regards to the scene, if your camera has live view, and that means that you can see the picture on the back of the screen, I'd like you to turn it on. You can compose your picture like so. If your camera does not have live view, then I want you to compose the picture as you normally would through the eyepiece, like this. When you have the composition that you like, put pressure on the back of your neck and the strap will create the stabilizer, like this. When you're ready, take the picture. Review the shot, and we have a really nice sharp shot. To make this technique even more effective, take the picture after you exhale. So for example, we take a deep breath, exhale, and then we take the picture. This will allow you to get a sharper shot because your body is not moving as much. Our next tip for low light photography is to choose a wide angle lens. Now, why is that important? A wide angle lens will allow us to get a sharper picture compared to what we call a telephoto or a zoom lens. Have you ever looked through a telescope and accidentally touched the telescope? What you probably saw was a really magnified shake in the view that you're looking at. Well, a telephoto lens works in the same way. When we zoom into a subject, we have to be very careful that we have our camera on a tripod. Now, with a wide-angle lens, there's far less opportunity for you to introduce shake. Therefore, we're going to get a sharper picture. So remember, when you're in dark environments such as this, there are certain techniques that are going to help you get extremely sharp photos and to avoid blur. Remember, we can lean our body against a wall. We can place our camera on a stable environment such as a curb or even on the ground. And don't forget about auto ISO and aperture priority and choosing the lowest f number possible. Also, don't forget, a wide-angle lens will give you a greater chance of getting a sharp photo than using a telephoto or zoom lens. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you got a lot of value out of it. Now, there's so much more I'd like to tell you about digital photography. And while I didn't hold anything back, there's only so much I could share with you in a short video like this. And that's why I've recorded an entire video course about taking incredible photos with your digital camera, and finally taking your camera off of the auto mode. So if you'd like to find out more about my digital photography course, you'll find more information right under this video. So take a look at my full digital photography course, and I hope to see you there.